Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da.
Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new edition of Geek to Me Radio, episode 254. Today we'll be talking with writer-director Michael Cuenca about a brand new movie he's got out and about the other aspects of his career as well. Stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And for those of you who may be finding us for the very first time, welcome to Geek to Me Radio. I'm your host, James Enstall. Each week we try to bring you someone new in the world of pop culture, be it film, TV, comic books, or games, and talk to them about their career and what they've got out, maybe a project they've got. In this case, we've got a brand new guest for the first time on Geek to Me Radio. Let's dive right in. Talking now with Mike Cuenca about a brand new movie, Like a Dirty French Novel, which just the name sounds intriguing. We're going to dig into that in a little bit more. Mike, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Official selection for the Dances with Films 2021, along with other accolades you personally have received. This has got to be very exciting to have this movie out there for people to view now.
I'm very stoked about it, and I think it's a movie that needs to be watched with a crowd. So to have it on a big screen and at the Chinese theaters, it's quite an honor.
Absolutely. When you think of the history of so many great films that premiered there and have been shown there and things like that, it's got to be a surreal experience to see your project that you had such a hand in making and all the things you've toiled with, to see it up there on that legendary screen. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, and this project, my friends Ashley Elfman and Dan Roje, who's my frequent co-writer, we just had all these different ideas. I've had some of these ideas since I was a teenager. And, quarantine hit and, we were just actually on a Zoom chat and we started talking about all these different crime ideas that we had. And within 2 to 3 days, we wrote the entire treatment. And then, we kind of put it away. This is like at the beginning or like the end of March or whatever. And then, come fall, I was like, I need to make something. I'm going kind of crazy. So we took this huge risk and just made the movie within like a week, like 5 days. At the very end of October and then bleeding into November. And, it was something that we didn't even we didn't really work very hard on the script. We just had these stories and we knocked it out. And then I gave all the scenes to the actors, which is kind of something that I do when I work with people. I never give them the entire script. I just give them their scenes. So they had no idea what they were getting into, so, like I said, we banged it out in a week, and everyone was just really intrigued by the premise of their scenes. And we did have like a couple months ago, I just had like a private screening just for the cast, and I had a great time just to see their reactions. But what was so great is it was just such a fast turnaround, and it feels like I've spent a long time working on prior features or whatever, but it's such a relief to enjoy this product and be very content with it when we didn't put that much effort into it without trying to belittle the project or anything like that.
No, and there's so many ways I could take this now that you've said all those things, because my mind started reeling with all these questions. We'll start with one of the things. Obviously, a week to shoot. Most films generally take. I've heard some directors say, we worked on it, we were able to knock it out in 3 weeks. Obviously, some movies take 3 months to film. Was it the fact that you said you had all these ideas, it was in your brain, you kind of had it on a shelf and kind of worked on it here and there? Was that one of the reasons it took such a short time to shoot, or was it out of necessity?
I think it was both, just having those ideas for a while. And then because no one was working because of quarantine, everyone was available. So I had a bunch of actor friends that wanted to act. I had a bunch of filmmaker friends that just wanted to be on a set. And we're like, you know what, let's just do this, And we did have, we did incorporate not our pandemic, but there is a pandemic in the story. But to me, it's a MacGuffin. It's just, an excuse for us to have people wearing, face masks because we had to be, careful when we were filming this stuff. Mm-hmm. But it was just a desire to create something and do it in this environment and do something really strange and bizarre. And not to veer off on a tangent, but the pandemic that's going on in the movie that we don't, like I said, it's a MacGuffin, we don't really concentrate on it, is something that's causing people to fall down and not get up. So that's just kind of what's going on. And we don't really focus on that. It's just there because if it weren't for these situations, if it weren't for that thing going on in this universe, these stories wouldn't be able to happen. So as I said, it was ideas that I had for a long time, and we just kind of incorporated into what was going on in the world at the time in order for us to be able to complete it.
And as a director, a lot of people, they'll look at their work, and obviously it goes through an editing process. Well, I want to change this. I want to change this. Again, with a week turnaround, getting it out. Is this the ultimate product? Because you've obviously, like we talked about, you've had time to think about it. You've kind of worked on it here and there. So is the final project that you put out now, is this the perfect movie in your mind, or would you go back and change anything if you could?
There's nothing that's going to be perfect
in your mind, though. Certain.
I'm okay with it, or I really like how it turned out. Is what I'm trying to say. Because my last feature, I'll Be Around. We had to cut it down for the festival circuit, and it was like a 2-hour flick, and then it played at a few festivals and streaming festivals, and it's out on Prime now, and it's on Tubi and all that jazz. But that flick, up until like 3 or 4 months ago, I was not happy with that project, and I had to put on a smile and be like, yeah, we worked really hard on this for 3 or 4 years, and we made this epic movie or whatever. But I was able to step away from it and go back to it and do the extended cut that Dan Roje, the co-writer, and I wanted to do, which was our intent. So up until 3-4 months ago, I was entirely dissatisfied with that project, and now we released my director's cut, writer's and director's cut, that's on my personal Vimeo. And the movie's been split into 2 features that are 2 70-minute long features in order to tell the entire story that we wanted to tell. With this project, aside from once I did the rough cut of it, I stepped away from it. I came back to Dirty French Novel and I looked at it and I was like, you know what? We wrote a really tight script because this is just what we wanted to do. We didn't veer off in these tangents like I tend to go on when I talk, but we just narrowed it down. And so once I had that first, I screened it to a couple people, and I was not happy with the ending. And there's still things now that I go, you know what? I should have done this. I should have added this other story that's been popping in my head now, but nothing I can do about that now. But yeah, as far as any project that I've ever worked on, it's the one where I'm like, I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. I didn't have a lot of time to go back and decide, have a difficult time deciding what I wanted to present in there. And maybe because it was so quick and easy to do, I'm very happy with it. But yeah, I think it's as close to quote unquote perfect that it can be.
And in just watching the trailer, and for those of you listening, if you go down, there's a link to the trailer in the show notes if you want to take a look at the trailer. I sound like a movie sommelier, but I was getting notes of Pulp Fiction, a little hint of the Johnny Depp movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and obviously it had just a very foreign film feel to just the trailer. When you get comparisons like that, were those conscious things that you were kind of thinking, yeah, I see that too? Or do you get some that are kind of like, oh, I didn't see that, but now I do see that?
I mean, I think, I'm a huge cinephile, and I unhealthily watch about 2 to 3 movies a day. Well, especially, when things close down, but I tend to watch about a movie a day, and I rewatch things over and over. And that's all going to seep into whatever I'm working on at the time. Mm-hmm. So those comparisons are great. The Pulp Fiction thing is something that I didn't even, neither Dan Roje or I thought about whatsoever when we were making this thing. And with the title of the movie, which is actually taken from a Velvet Underground song, which I love the Velvet Underground. They were my favorite band when I was 16 years old. And I always had that as a title of something that I wanted to work on. Yeah, we didn't realize that people could compare this to Pulp Fiction because it's very nonlinear and it is very pulpy and it's kind of an anthology movie. But once you start watching the movie, you realize like midway that these little short films that you're watching in the flick aren't really short films. It's just a full story that's being told out of order. So I can see the comparisons because of that. But it was nothing that was ever like consciously that what we were trying to do. It's just, oh wow, I didn't realize that. Just coincidental.
And when you're writing and directing, is that an easier mode to be in, doing both? Because obviously you've written this is your material, you kind of know how you want it directed, or are there times when you kind of want to just write and have someone else bring the vision to life? Where's your mindset on that?
I don't know. I think it's just all part of I don't think my personality would allow that. And there's stuff that I've written that I'm like, cool, I could pass this on to somebody. But it's just like, I want this, to me, a script is just a sketch of what's going to happen. And even what's on the page by the end of the day, once you start editing and everything and your intent, it may not match what that is, it's sometimes when I'm writing something, for example, and Dan can be very descriptive in his own way when he's writing scenes or dialogue. I already know exactly how I want the tone and feel to be like, and I don't think I can try to describe that to somebody else if they were going to be able to helm this project instead of me. So once I do that and we shoot the scenes, and then my favorite part is the editing process, because that's when you cliche terms, shape the movie. Mm-hmm. And you can change so much about it. You can make a campy scene seem incredibly dire and drastic, or vice versa, or whatever. Or, you can take a very dramatic scene and make it into a comedic scene just by editing it.
We're going to take our first break right there, come back and chat more with Michael Cuenca. Please stand by.
Hey, this is Mark Pellegrino, Lucifer from Supernatural, and you are listening to Geek to Me Radio.
And we're back. This segment brought to you by our official movie sponsor, Marcus Theaters. Marcus Theaters is the website, marcustheaters.com. You can use that website to find the location of the Marcus Theaters or a movie tavern closest to you. And you can even buy your tickets right there, see movie reviews and all that kind of good stuff. They usually have specials going on there as well. Make sure you enroll in the Magical Movie Reward. You get basically rewarded for seeing movies. If you go to the movies and buy your tickets, you can log in through the website with your account and get points. If you go to the concession stand, you get a popcorn and a large soda. Show your card. They'll swipe it. You get points. And eventually, you'll be able to use those points for movies, for concessions, or other great things. One of the things I would recommend doing, which is a lot of fun, is getting a private theater. Maybe you have an event coming up. Maybe you want to do a bachelor party, bachelorette party, a birthday party for somebody. Get a live group together of 20 people, and you can go see a movie. Rent a private theater and go see Free Guy, go see Paw Patrol, go see whatever movie's out. They sometimes have retro specials too. Earlier this summer, you could rent a private theater and watch Raiders of the Lost Ark on the big screen. How cool would that be? Go to the website, once again, marcustheaters.com. Very proud to have them as the official movie sponsor. It is definitely, by far, the best movie-going experience in the galaxy. Right before we took that last break, we were chatting with Michael Cuenca, and he and I had talked off-air a little bit about, he mentioned that he, too, had an interconnected film universe and was kind of doing this even before the Kevin Smiths and the Kevin Feiges were doing it on their end.
We all my stuff, all my movies actually take place in a shared universe. I've been doing this, pre Marvel days. I've been doing this, but I also grew up reading Marvel comics. So, like Kevin Smith does that. Tarantino kind of has like a shared universe. So, I've been doing that. But anyway, and I'll be around. We mentioned this slasher. It's called the Hole Install Slayer. Hole Install, it's a fictional town. Most of my stuff takes place in fictional cities, kind of like Shermer, Illinois, from the John Hughes movies. Shermer doesn't exist in Illinois.
Right.
So we have this. They talk about this serial killer, and it's just like a fun gag scene or whatever. But that serial killer originated from the web series that I used to do back in 2008, which was like a punk rock ensemble, really Looney Tunes meets Seinfeld web series. It's really silly. I did it with a bunch of friends. Every episode was like 22 minutes long before things were available to stream online easily. So no one could even load the thing because they didn't have the proper internet connection to let it play or whatever. So it was problematic. But the Slayer, the slasher, this killer, kind of played a small part on that show. But everyone's been bugging me to make a horror movie. They're like, you should make a horror movie. And I love horror movies, but I'm like, I love them so much that I don't want to make one because I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to criticize my own thing. And I was like, well, if I do something, it's going to be like a horror comedy. And I was like, maybe we should give this a shot. So we did a total spin-off. We just finished a treatment yesterday, Dan and I, and it's basically it's a Giallo tribute, and it's the slasher movie to end all slasher movies. We wrote this insane, really brutal, still humorous story, but it has, like I said, I wanted the kills and the intensity of Brian De Palma. I wanted the sense of adventure of a Spielberg. I want the suspense of a Hitchcock, and I want a little bit of slapstick element from a Howard Hawks movie. Wow. And that's what we just finished. And it's about the Hole Install Slayer, and it starts in the 90s and it builds up to now. And it's unlike any slasher movie that's been made. I'm saying this as just a movie nerd, not to, again, pat our own backs, but it's very, very different than anything we've ever seen. It is a little nonlinear, just like a Dirty French Novel, but it's an epic. So what I'm hoping to do is get, enough traction going with this flick that, we did within a week, and it was really fun to do. And it's like a really fun, pulpy story to see if we can get some interest and eventual financing to make this project, because I think it would be a really cool story to watch.
And with crowdfunding and things like that, is that something you've kind of steered clear of for any certain reason? Like if you were to do a Kickstarter campaign for funding for that film?
Well, we did a Seed and Spark for I'll Be Around, but it's like I'm not very I don't have a lot of connections in that sense. So it's like we were able to raise $8,000 for I'll Be Around, and that movie, I paid out of pocket for a lot of stuff that went on there because we had so many locations and this and that. But I'm just like I don't have the connections and like the social media following to like get enough people to pitch in for anything that I'm working on. So, and I don't like begging for money. So it's like it's not something that I really wanted to do for this thing. And I just feel like we're not gonna get anywhere if we do that. Also, like about a decade ago, when I was shooting Oblivion, that punk rock show that I was talking about, I just got in this brand new laptop that one of my really close and best friends, Yvonne, bought me, that I was gonna pay her back for. So I had that, and I had like my camera, my sound equipment, all this stuff in my car. And we were shooting Oblivion, and I ended up stopping at one place really fast to use the restroom. By the time I came outside, someone had slashed my tires and broken into the car, stolen everything. And I was unemployed at the time, and I was struggling to pay my bills to begin with. And I had a Kickstarter campaign for that, but that was the only time where I was like, this is what makes me happy. I don't get a lot of success creating this stuff, but I really, really, need this gear back. So that was the one time where I was like really pleading people to help me out. And I had just joined Facebook at the time. So I was, privately messaging people, and I'm like, hey, if you can just throw in like $2 or $3, if I contact enough people, I can, raise enough funds to buy back this equipment. But I was entirely, heartbroken at the time because not only did they take all this gear, but they took all the footage that we had shot, for the last week. That brand new laptop, everything. And I was just gutted. I just fell down to my knees when I saw the car. I couldn't even talk, and I just like started just crying.
Oh man.
But so it's like I wish I would have that kind of success, or like the gall to be like, hey guys, you want to finance this really insane slasher movie that we want to make. But I gotta see what kind of other avenues I can go down.
I get that. Yeah. We'll pause once again. Come back and chat more with writer-director Michael Cuenca. Please stand by.
Hi, this is John Emmett Tracy from iZombie, Supernatural, and Assassin's Creed 3. You are listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back to the show. Chatting for the rest of this hour with writer-director Michael Cuenca about his movie, Like a Dirty French Novel. And then this, we should mention too, it is premiering August 28th at the Dances with Film Festival. When you're submitting it, what do you kind of, what's your thought process when you're submitting it? Is it just get the movie out there? Are you obviously you want it to get accolades and win awards, but is it the project itself is the prize, or how do you view it once you are putting it out there into the world?
Well, I think the project itself is the prize, because it's like, you worked hard on something and you have this thing and you want to share it with the world. And, I tend to do very character driven stories that it's like what I actually went on this talk last night with a couple of people. But, when I was a kid and you watch a film by a filmmaker that entirely encompasses what you're feeling inside that you can't describe, especially when you're a teen, because you're much so susceptible to things, and you feel more alone in the world than you probably will ever feel. And you find something that you entirely connect with, and it speaks to you in volumes, even if it makes you laugh, even if it's not something that's like, oh my God, this person understands my life. It just really connects with who you are as a person. That's that to me is my whole MO for creating movies. It's not to even get awards or anything like that, or even a pat on the back, like someone goes, hey, you did a great job. It's just to find people that relate to this material. And with this project, it's less philosophical. It still has philosophical leanings, but it's less emotional than the other stuff that I've done. And it is a very camp project. It's pulpy. And you just want someone to just enjoy this and be entertained by it. And it's part of the nonlinear format that we chose to go into, because you want to keep the audience surprised and also slightly confused but interested. And I'm like, just sit back, watch the entire thing, and by the time you get to the end, you'll see how all the pieces connect.
That's how I got my wife. I'm slightly confused but interesting. That's how I kind of lured her in. So I love that motive. That's great.
Right. And like I said, I'm a person that rewatches stuff all the time, and I know a lot of people don't like doing that, but at least with the stuff that I do, I always go, just watch it once, view the lay of the land. I think this is a Robert Altman quote, and I constantly quote this, but I don't even know if he for sure said this because I can't find it anywhere online. But he's talking about, when you approach his films, for example, it's like viewing the lay of the land. You're on a hill and you're watching this town from far away. And then the second time you watch the movie, you're walking in the town. You're seeing the storefronts and everything. The third time that you revisit the film, now you're inside the buildings. And I think that's a good way to just view movies in general, because there's so much going on in that initial first run that I think you're just supposed to just enjoy yourself and enjoy it for what it is, but don't try to make too much sense out of it. And then when you revisit it, you're going to see how everything is actually properly connected and how this whole world is really coherent.
And I was just having this conversation with somebody. To me, the hallmark of a good movie is that you want to go back and watch it a second and a third time. That is something, if I see a movie and I want to go back and see it again, I'm going to obviously rate that movie a little higher than another movie. Like, I saw it, I get the idea. So that's an interesting point. So you're kind of purposely making movies that kind of have that aspect to it. The rewatchability draws people in. Yeah,
totally. And it's like, you're going to find something different every time. And, as they say, the movie doesn't change, but you do. So the movie does change.
Yeah.
But I love movies that, I'll be like, hey, that was cool. There's some things I liked about that, but you know what? I don't think it was all that great. But then 2-3 days later, I keep thinking back to it and I'm like, man, that scene was really good. And then I keep thinking back to it. And then 3 weeks later, I'm still thinking about it. And I'm like, that is a good movie because it's still in my brain.
Yeah.
And there's something about it that I knew subconsciously or I didn't know that is really, really attractive. And so I'll go back and rewatch it and be like, whoa, my mind is totally blown because at the time it wasn't hitting me in certain ways. It also could be the mood that you're in or the people that you watch it with.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
it totally affects the experience, but I love that stuff. And then on the other hand, I'll watch movies that I don't ever think about again whatsoever.
Right, exactly.
And I'm like, okay, maybe that wasn't that great. And sometimes I'll be like, you know what, my memory's a little fuzzy, and I go back and I was like, yeah, it's still in a memorable picture. But at least I try to do stuff that would want to make a person go back and check it out, especially this thing because it's like I said, it's all out of order.
And you've got another one that's currently filming, Boys About Town. Is this one another one that you've kind of had in your mind for a while? Is this just a new project you've kind of created?
Well, that one, we started shooting it in 2018, and I actually had this idea before. I'm a big Richard Linklater fan, but I had no idea about Boyhood when I had this idea. So 2018 is when we started shooting it, but I started writing it in 2006.
Oh, wow.
And I had it on the side, and it was just something like this before I officially started making movies like in 2008. But so I had it there, and I worked on it a little bit, and it's just about these. Two young men, they're 20 years old, and we're following them in real time as they age. And it's about their friendship and the relationships that they get into. And one of them is very promiscuous and the other is very reserved. They're both music fanatics. They both love a lot of 60s soul and garage rock and that sort of stuff, kind of a mod lifestyle that they lead, even though that's, an antiquated subculture. But, it's my tribute to Truffaut and Godard movies. So it has like the title cards. It's shot in black and white. We do a lot of it's basically everything in the kitchen sink being thrown into the movie. But I'm still filming that. I think we'll be done with it in about a year and a half. But we're actually next Wednesday shooting for the first time in 3 months because I catch up with the characters every 2 to 3 months and we shoot these vignettes. It's been really fun because they're recurring actors that I work with, the two guys, Cole and Joaquin Dominguez. And so it's been really fun to see them initially have baby fat and then now they're turning into late 20-year-olds. And it's been pretty cool. And it's not a gimmick. I just really wanted to showcase how they change on camera, and it's not just those two characters that we're following. We're following they have this little ensemble group of friends, and just seeing how their opinions change, how they mature, how they don't mature, that sort of stuff. But it's been a really, really fun project. But I had it like 30 French Novel. It's just something that I had in my mind for a long time, and I'm like, no one's ever going to give me the money to make this thing, so I might as well just do it now. But I was waiting a long time for the right actors for it, and they're fantastic. They're so good. Their chemistry is amazing, and you really believe they've been lifelong friends when you watch the thing.
Lastly, also, you're a musician, a very talented musician. Music obviously plays a huge part in setting a scene for a movie, be it a horror movie, a drama movie. So obviously, as a musician, music must be very important when you incorporate it into your films as well, I would take it. We'll pause once again. We'll be right back, wrapping up our chat with writer-director Michael Cuenca. Please stand by.
Hi everybody, this is James Masters with a sexy fake British accent. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
And we're back for our final segment. Want to make sure we mention our premier sponsor, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. Longtime listeners will know them from the website discoverstcharles.com. They've been with me for 5 years since I launched this show. It's a great place to visit. I'm very much involved with some of the goings on there as far as their festivals and things like that. There's always something fun to do, something unique going on. There's cool places to shop. There's a lot of great food to be had. St. Charles is wonderful. If you're in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles area and haven't made the trip yet, I really don't know what you're waiting for. There's always something going on. You can check out the website, discoverstcharles.com, for the different festivals, the different weekend things they've got going on. A lot of cool things happening as we're getting into the fall season. Their Legends and Lanterns series is gearing up. If you're a Halloween fan, this is something you have to check out. But there's always something for everybody, all ages. There's no matter what kind of things you want to do. If you're an outdoorsy kind of person, you want to go bike ride the Katy Trail, that's great. If you're a foodie and want to try someplace new to eat, that's also something for you. If you're a history buff, there's a lot of things you can learn out there. The first state capital, it's a great time to be out and about in St. Charles. And if you're from out of town, come on in. We'd love to have you. You can stay in one of the bed and breakfasts or world-class accommodations at the hotels they have available. Go to the website. That's your kind of your portal into the world of St. Charles. And then again, that website is discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. As we wrap up our chat with Michael Cuenca, we'd asked him about, he's also a musician, and so I'd asked him about incorporating music into his films.
Oh, totally. I just don't have, the budget to put the pop songs that I would love to put on a soundtrack. But for Dirty French Novel, well, for I'll Be Around, since that movie, that movie's background is that we're following a bunch of musicians over the span of a day, a bunch of musicians, and they're all interconnected. So I obviously couldn't afford songs that I wanted to use that would totally capture the environment. So that was, I'm not going to say it was the first time I've done that, but it's the first time that I really focused on creating music for a project that I'm working on. So, you know, I wrote all the music for every fictional band that's in the movie. So for Dirty French Novel, when I was editing it, and I talked to my buddy Carlos, who co-scored Dirty French Novel with me, about doing this like very Bernard Herrmann tribute, because I wanted that Hitchcockian feel. And I'm a big Brian De Palma fan, and he's a huge Hitchcock fan, but I wanted to capture that tone that Bernard Herrmann provided Hitchcock's films, but with a little bit of campiness. So the fun part was that pretty much 90% of the music that's in there that we composed was just me editing the picture and humming. Because I have like a humming problem. I didn't even realize that I do this thing, but my girlfriend the other day, she's like, "Yeah, you're a hummer." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You're always humming." And I'm like, I just realized that I'm consistently humming when there's no music. I'm just going like, like all the time. So I probably look like a sociopath. But I got really self-conscious about it. She's like, "Yeah, you're always humming." And I caught myself humming while I was editing the scenes for Dirty French Novel. So I pretty much grabbed my keyboard that was next to me, or my bass, whatever, my instruments that are next to me when I'm editing, and I started just recording immediately on my computer while I was editing these, whatever I was humming. And the humming became the score for Dirty French Novel. So every scene, so it's a pretty fun thing if you watch the movie, every scene that has like a score that goes, boom, 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 whatever the hell's going on, that was me doing that while I was editing. And it's been translated to music.
Huh. That's one of those inside the building views. Now you watch it a third time, you listen to that, you'll hear that part.
So I laugh at that, you know. So I was like, oh, great. And there's a couple of scenes where I was like, oh, I want a song to sound like this. Like I wanted something that sounded like the Ren and Stimpy theme song.
Yes.
For a particular scene, there's like this really absurd fight sequence that's very cartoonish that happens like 3/4 into the movie. And I wanted that jazzy, surfy sound. And so Carlos wrote a song. I wrote another song. It wasn't quite working. And then last minute, I just like watched the footage over and over, and I kept making a bass sound with my mouth. And I was like, there we go. And I got my bass, and I did the bass, and then I added horns and all this stuff. And that's the song that plays during that sequence. So that was one of the few that wasn't like while I was editing, I came up with this thing. It was just like, okay, I need to find the right tone for this thing. And same thing for Boys About Town, because like I said, those kids listen to like a lot of 60s music, and I want a lot of power pop songs on there. So afterwards, I'll watch the scene over and over, and I'll just start humming something, and I'll be like, okay, here we go. Let me translate that to a guitar and get that into the movie.
Yeah, I think that story needs to go in the director's commentary on the DVD, or at least in fun trivia on your IMDb page, one of the two. That's brilliant. Let everyone know too, if they want to keep up with you personally, where they can find you, website, social media handles, things like that.
Ooh, I'm consistently on Instagram. My name is Mike Cuenca with an underscore at the end. I'm on Twitter. Just type in my name, and I have my Tumblr, and I try to update it, but if you go on there and you click on videos, you can you'll be able to access all my movies, and you know they're all zero budget movies, but they're on Prime, they're on Tubi, and as I keep reiterating, if you decide to watch I'll Be Around, which is my second to last flick, highly recommend avoiding the 2-hour cut and just deep diving and watching the double album version. It's called I'll Be Around, the double album, which is the one that's split into 2 features. Watch that one because that is the closest thing to what Dan and I intended, you know, when we set out to make that picture. And it has a lot of our heart and soul into it. I'm very proud of it, and I think it's very moving. It has the feeling that the other one didn't have. It's like that song from the 90s, Who Sucked Out the Feeling? Right. That's what that version feels like. So I highly recommend checking that out. But that's on my personal Vimeo. And I'm trying to get it out on Prime and all that stuff now. But the distributor for the regular version is kind of putting a stop to that, but we'll see. That's the version that I want out there, and I want people to check that out and give it a shot, because we worked really hard in it, and like our blood, sweat, and tears is in it, and I think it comes across. It's a very, very emotional flick when you get to the second part of that movie.
And we'll have links to the side A and side B of that as well. And also, obviously, like we mentioned, Like a Dirty French Novel on August 28th. Tickets available for the Dances with Films Festival if you want to check that as well. Break legs on the opening for this. Hopefully it goes exactly like you want it to, and continued success. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
That's going to do it. Another show in the books. Thanks again to Michael Cuenca. Make sure you check out his film, Like a Dirty French Novel. You can catch it on streaming services. And also make sure you check out our website, geektomeradio.com. Click around there. You can see the other interviews we've done. You can check us out on social media at Geek to Me Radio on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks, of course, as always, to Joey V for making this show sound as good as it does and all the work he does behind the scenes. Until next week, my friends.
It's not in the way you watch iZombie. It's not in the way you watch The Flash. It's not in the way you love Scotty Young Arts. It's not in the way you play Mario Kart. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's a show. This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Paris. Good night.
Hey kids, are your parents about to buy you a shiny new toy from Amazon?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Well, don't be selfish. Share some of that money with us. Before going on Amazon, make sure to type in bit.ly/geek2me in the web browser. It will look just like Amazon.com, except it'll say referral Geek to Me Radio up top. And then when you check out, a tiny percentage will go to support the show without costing you 1 cent more. So before your parents get you that gizmo, gadget, or widget, make sure they type in bit.ly/geek2me in the web browser.
Bit.ly/geek2me. Bit.ly/geek2me.